You're halfway through a message. 3 dots appear. Then they stop, and nothing comes. For the next hour, you're fine. You work, you eat, you scroll. But some quiet part of your brain is still sitting in that chat window, waiting. Nobody told it to. It just refuses to leave. There's a reason for that, and it's older than your phone. Your mind treats unfinished things differently from finished ones. Not slightly differently, structurally differently. A task you completed gets filed away. A task you didn't gets left running, like an app you swiped off the screen but never actually shut down. Psychologists call these open loops, and you're carrying more of them than you think. The email you started drafting, the conversation that ended badly, the show you're 4 episodes into, the thing you told yourself you'd deal with in January. You're not disorganized. You're not broken. This is built into how attention works. But the standard explanation for it, the one you've probably heard, turns out to be mostly wrong. And the real one is stranger and more useful. Here's the version everyone knows. Berlin, the 1920s. A psychologist named Bluma Zeigarnik is sitting in a busy cafe with her mentor, Kurt Lewin. She notices something about the waiters. They can hold enormous, complicated orders in their heads. No notepad, no mistakes. But the moment the bill is paid, the order evaporates. Ask them what table 9 had, and they've got nothing. Paid means closed. Closed means gone. Whether that cafe scene happened exactly that way is debated. What matters is what it pointed at. Zephyros took it into the lab. In 1927, she published a study where people were given a series of small tasks, puzzles, little bits of craft work, and she interrupted them on about half. Afterwards, she asked what they remembered. According to her results, people recalled the interrupted tasks far better than the finished ones. The explanation offered was tension. Starting something creates a kind of psychological pressure, and finishing it releases it. Leave it open, and the pressure keeps the task lit up in your mind. That's the story that made it into every productivity book, every article about cliffhangers, every explanation of why you can't stop thinking about a text left unread. It's a good story. It's also where most explanations stop. But here's the first problem. It doesn't quite match what you actually experience, because when a loop stays open, the feeling isn't really memory. You don't sit there recalling the unanswered message with unusual clarity. It's vaguer than that. It's a low hum, a background drag on everything else you try to do. In 2009, a researcher named Sophie Leroy put a name to it: attention residue. Her paper had a wonderfully honest title: Why is it so hard to do my work? She had people switch between tasks, sometimes finishing the first one, sometimes getting cut off midway. Then she measured how well they performed on the next thing. When people were pulled off a task before finishing, a piece of their attention stayed behind. They were physically on task 2. Part of their mind was still running task 1, and their performance dropped for it. So the cost of an open loop isn't stored in memory. It's charged to your attention, in the present, over and over. Think of it like a browser tab playing audio somewhere. You're not listening to it. You couldn't tell me what's playing. But every tab is using something. This is why a day where you did nothing can leave you exhausted. You weren't idle. You were hosting 14 tabs. And they don't queue politely. The half-finished apology from Tuesday will hand itself to you while you're brushing your teeth on Friday. Not because it's important, because it never got closed. That's already a more useful picture than tension and release. But it's still not the strangest part, because in 2025, researchers pooled together the century of studies that had tried to replicate Zephyros' original finding, a meta-analysis published in Humanities and Social Science Communications. And the result was blunt. They found no reliable memory advantage for unfinished tasks. The famous effect, the one in all the books, largely does not hold up. Where it does appear It seems to depend on conditions, how invested you were, how much authority the person interrupting you had, whether the situation felt like a test. Facebook note, kinetic text, the phrase, the Zeigarnik effect, typed out, then struck through with a single clean line. But they found something else, something that held up consistently. The urge to go back. That one has its own name and its own researcher, and almost nobody knows it. In 1928, in the same Berlin lab, a psychologist named Maria Ovsiankina ran a similar experiment, but instead of measuring what people remembered, she measured what they did. She interrupted them, then left them alone in the room with the unfinished task sitting there. No instruction, no prompt. Most of them went back to it, on their own. That's the Ovsiankina effect. And it's the one that replicates. Sit with the difference for a second. Your brain does not keep a better record of unfinished things. It keeps pulling you toward them. It's not a librarian, it's a dog that will not drop the stick. Which changes what the fix has to be. If the problem were memory, you'd just need to write things down. But the pull isn't about remembering, it's about returning. And in 2011, E.J. Massacampo and Roy Baumeister tested something close to that. People with unfinished goals got intrusive thoughts about them, and those thoughts interfered with unrelated tasks. Then some of them were asked to make a specific plan, not to do the thing, just to decide when and where and how. The interference dropped. They hadn't finished anything. They'd just given the loop somewhere to go. Now hold that up against the world you actually live in. Almost every screen you touch is designed to leave something open. The episode ends mid-scene. The feed has no bottom. Notifications show you the first line and hide the rest. Games hand you a quest just before you were going to stop. Every one of these is a deliberate open loop, built by people who understand exactly what it does to you. Nothing you use is allowed to end. Endings are bad for engagement. So you close the app feeling unsatisfied, and pick it up again 9 minutes later. And you call that a lack of willpower. It isn't. You're not addicted to your phone. You're addicted to finishing, and the whole system is built so you never can. The thing that made a Berlin waiter's memory brilliant is the same thing keeping you awake at 1 in the morning. So here's the reframe. When you're tired in a way that sleep doesn't fix, the question probably isn't, what should I do? That question adds a loop. Try a different one. What's still open? Then take one of them and give it a when and a where. Not a resolution, not a system. Just Thursday morning at the kitchen table. I'll call them back. You'll notice something odd. The relief arrives before the task does. That's the tell. If finishing were the point, planning would do nothing. Because your mind was never asking you to finish, it was asking you not to be abandoned mid-sentence. Closure isn't the same thing as completion. Most of the loops you're carrying don't need to be finished today. They just need to stop being nowhere. So, what's the one open loop you've been carrying the longest? The conversation, the message, the thing you keep almost doing. Put it in the comments. Sometimes naming it is most of the trick. And if you like sitting with questions like this one, subscribing means the next one finds you.